record on this computer. Wonderful. We have so many ways these ways, don't we? We've got, you can be in 3D, you can be in 2D, and you can even be across time if you're the type of person that wanted to have it recorded, which is great. Well, this Lent course, we are reading this book, The Good God. I don't know how many of you have got it. We do still have copies available. Do avail yourself of that opportunity.
Thank you very much.
You don't yet have it. It's really a great book. I suspect that perhaps some of us may have found some of it hard going, perhaps harder to read than a newspaper for sure. But I do hope that we will get a pathway through, maybe with the talks, and we'll take a second pass, and each time we'll really dig up something new. So I wonder, we've all met atheists, haven't we? We all know people who are atheists. In fact, I'm sure that probably most people we meet are atheists, or at least agnostics maybe, and they would say, I just don't know. But they certainly wouldn't say, I worship God, I believe and I trust in God. When people say to me, I don't believe in God, as I'm sure they've said to you, I wonder what you think about that question. I always think, what does God actually mean? It's a word that's used a lot, isn't it? It's overused. We all use it. We speak to our friends and family about God. We learn about God in school. We even sometimes occasionally hear about God on TV. But which God are we talking about? When someone says, I don't believe in God, I want to know, which God don't you believe in? Because I probably don't believe in him either. I actually don't believe in most gods. I believe in one God in particular. If you don't believe in a God who is distant and far away, neither do I. I don't believe in that God either. If you don't believe in a God who doesn't care about human suffering, me too. I don't believe in that God either. Maybe you don't believe in a God who treats people like toys and playthings. I don't believe in that God either. In fact, Christians have always said this. I don't know if you knew this, but Christians used to be called in the Roman Empire atheists. Did you know this? They used to say, away with the atheists. And when they said that, they meant Christians, because Christians didn't believe in any of the gods. They only believed in one. Or which God don't people believe in, I wonder? Because I only believe in one. And I wonder how, if somebody said, well, what is God like? What is God like? How would you answer that question? Well, perhaps we would say something like, God is the creator of the universe. This would be a good answer, wouldn't it? It's a great answer. It's a wonderfully true answer. But it doesn't really get to the nub of who God actually is. Because, you see, it's something that God has done. And there was a time when he hadn't done that. Right? And he was still God before he'd done it. Do you see what I mean? You can take away creation and he's still God. So it doesn't really define who he is. I play guitar. That's quite an important part of me. It is for me anyway, often. It certainly was when I met Emily, and I thought, chicks dig guitars, don't they? So I will go with this. I'm a guitarist. But the thing is, there was a time when I didn't play guitar. And I was still me. I was born and I was me. So being a guitarist is not a great definition of what it means to be Ben. Because you can take it away. I could lose my hands. I could forget how to play guitar and I would still be me. Well, it's the same with God. If we say God is the creator, well, what was he before he made then? Okay, so then if we can't do that, then we're left with a bit of a question. Who is God? What is he actually like? Can we define who he is? Can we say something more about the God that we do believe in? Well, hopefully by the end of this Lent, we should have really strong answers to that question. When someone says, I don't believe in God, you say, oh, tell me about that God you don't believe in. They explain, you say, no, me neither. Let me tell you about the God I do believe in. He's Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. He's so brilliant. Maybe you've not heard of him. See, we're not interested as Christians in God in general. Not interested in the concept of God. That's something that people can do in universities. That's up to them. Not interested in God in general. We're interested in who the God of the Bible is. Who is the God who's revealed himself in Jesus Christ? And at this point, I think we need to just put aside an objection that's an obvious objection. Thinking about God, reading a book like this, it's all a bit academic, isn't it? Isn't this surely quite academic? And after all, we know that knowing God is about a relationship, isn't it? And if it's all about knowing a relationship, then why do I have to get my head around all this stuff? Why do I have to think about persons and substance and church councils or whatever? Do I have to think of any of that? Well, it's a good point. It is a good point. Because, of course, being a Christian and knowing God is all about being in a relationship. And I do hope that we are all agreed that we're not here to do anything academic. And we don't want to be just accruing facts and trying to make our brains big or anything like this, just keeping the grey matter ticking. That's not what we're about. But, and this is a huge important but, we mustn't confuse something being academic and something being easy to understand. Not everything that isn't academic is easy to understand. That is, our relationship with God isn't necessarily the most obvious, easy thing in the whole world. We know this from all our relationships, don't we? We have relationships with all sorts of people. I've had a relationship with my wife for nearly 20 years. We've been married for 12 years. And she still surprises me. Every time I think I get her down, I think, yes, I know what I did wrong then. I go and do something else again. This is how relationships are like. Do I say, well, no, actually, look, Emily, look, if I can't get my head around what I keep doing wrong, then it's just not worth it. That's just academic. It should be much easier than this. No, relationships don't work like that. So just because it's not an academic exercise, knowing God, that doesn't mean that knowing God is easy. We shouldn't expect everything to be easy. Now, the point of this book, Mike's book, The Good God, is really to emphasize this point, that we are to enjoy God, we're to enjoy who he is. I want you to imagine, at risk of belaboring the point, I want you to imagine that you go out on a date. You absolutely love. We love love, don't we? We watch it on TV. We love. It's just so good. You go out on a date thinking, oh, I just want all of those things. I want companionship. I want discussion. I want laughter. I want someone to share the mortgage with. Whatever it is that you really want a relationship for, I don't know. Just love. Well, imagine you went out on a date and your head was so full of all the things you're going to get from this new relationship that you arrive in the restaurant and you see 3 people and you realize, I actually don't know which one's my date. Perhaps that's because they all look quite similar. No, one's a brunette, one's a blonde, one's a redhead. Okay, well, maybe their eyes, no. One's got brown eyes, one's got green eyes, one's got blue eyes. Okay, this is getting a bit awkward. One's tall, one's short, I was so focused on what I was going to get out of this relationship, I don't even know who my date is. Well, look, we can be like that as Christians. We sometimes think we are so focused on what we're going to get out of our relationship with God. I'm going to get all these great things. Do we even miss who he is? If we got on the bus and our God was sat next to another God, would we know who he is? None of us would think, would we, that knowing your husband or wife's hair color was academic, would you? That would seem crazy, wouldn't it? If you said, well, no, look, I just love you. I have no idea about your hair color, but that doesn't matter. I'm about relationships. How would that fly? It wouldn't work in mine. It wouldn't work in mine. I've tried. No, I haven't. And actually, Emily, you're watching. Sorry, love. And why is this all important? This is all important because this is what theology means. When we hear the word theology, this is what theology means. It just means knowing God. Just means knowing God. That's all it means. And in this sense, absolutely every single person in the whole world is a theologian. You are all theologians. Did you know this? Bona fide theologian. Every single person, even the person that tells you they don't believe in God, is a theologian. That's a theological statement, isn't it? I don't believe in God. Well, you obviously think something about him not to believe in him, don't you? So the only question is, have we thought about what we're talking about with theology? Do we know who this God is, or do we not? This is what theology is about. So I hope that we see that when we're talking about Trinity, and we're thinking about Trinity this term, it's not a pointless or minor topic. It's not just something that's advanced. It really goes to the very core of who we're actually talking about. Who are we actually in a relationship with? It's foundational. It's foundational to our faith. It's foundational. That doesn't mean it's easy, but it is foundational. So, by the way, at any point, we do need to just put up our hands. This is not sermons or church. Just stick up your hand and, heckle, whatever. Stick something in. Yeah, I'm sorry if you're on Zoom. Oh, there's something on chat here. Let me just quickly.